What's that?
What stands out to you about Texas A&M?
As far as, when you look at them, first of all, they got a lot of skill. They're very efficient in their run game, and they've got designed quarterback runs, so you got to account for him in the run game. And then they got really good skill outside. Guys that can go get the ball. They can make plays one-on-one, so you got to be aware of that. So I mean, between that and the runners, they got a couple good runners that can go downhill, but they can bounce it outside. They can accelerate and create double-digit yards that way. So they're a good team. Their offensive line's athletic. So we got to be ready to play. We got to prepare and understand that we got to be physical and do the things that we do to stop them. But it's going to be a challenge.
Have they changed anything since they had to go to a different quarterback, or they just still do what A&M does?
I think they're still doing what they're doing. I think that thing I've noticed is the quarterback's really progressed and played well over the last few weeks, and probably feels more comfortable in their offense now that he has a few more snaps. But they're really running the same stuff that they were running, before he got in there.
Can you talk about the way Willie Gay has improved over the season as a true freshman?
Yeah, Willie's done a good job. He was a guy we were high on in camp. Obviously, when we recruited him, we talked to him about having the ability to contribute for us early on, and he's done that. He plays on special teams, and we worked to get him in there, both early in the first half to kind of get him going, and then he plays in the second half, giving Leo a blow. So we'll continue that role for him and continue to develop him, and certainly got a bright future playing here for us.
Can you talk about some of the ways he's improved in coverage?
Well, I think the biggest thing he's improved in coverage is he's starting to settle into understanding the speed of the game. Willie's a pretty athletic guy, but the speed of the game's fast too. So I think that part of it slowed down for him because he's gotten more snaps. I think that's the key to, when you play those early games and the game's kind of decided, say at halftime, the advantage to that is you can develop guys. You can get guys in the game and give them reps to allow them to be ready to play when you need them. And that's really what we've done with him. And he's developed into being a guy that's comfortable in our system, and we'll continue to play him.
A&M does a lot of different things to get Christian Kirk the ball. What makes him so dangerous?
Well, he's a good athlete. Number one is he's got NFL wide receiver skill set. He can go get the ball. He can make plays one-on-one. He can find the ball when it's in the air. He has very good ability to separate when you play tight coverage, and he's a physical specimen. So obviously you got to be aware of where he is and understand that, and be ready for the challenge.
I've watched a couple of games where he's wound up with only a couple of catches so far this year. Is that anything that the defense is doing?
No, I think that's more of the fact that maybe early on they weren't throwing it as much, but now that they've been able to maybe get a little bit more in groove with their offense, he's gotten a few more shots. So I think that was a little bit of product of the quarterback situation, early on, and I think it's kind of tilted a little bit of late. But you still got to be aware of him because the quarterback has an arm and he can throw it to him and do those things. So he's a guy you got to be aware of no matter what.
Gary Green's pick six. It's an unusual play, but is that the type of plays you foresaw from this group?
Yeah, last Monday here, I said, hey, in the BYU game, it was a good game, but we left some plays on the field to be made, and those were the kind of plays I was talking about. Rather than just being, say, a pressure, a hit, a sack. You got plays, you got things that can change the game, momentum type deals, and that's a good example of the kind of play I was talking about. And those guys did a good job of understanding the situation and executing and making a play.
You also talked all spring about forcing teams to play from behind. Is that what sets up the kind of play like Braxton made, getting a tip like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you play ahead, you kind of dictate, or the score ended up dictating what the offense has to do relative to where they are in the game. Meaning, all of a sudden you start getting into the second half and you're down by multiple scores, and you stop the run on first down, then there's a good chance second down is going to be a pass, and you got to go through your keys and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, when you're up like that, it kind of forces the offense to become more one-dimensional. And when they do that, it allows you to kind of just play one thing.
Montez has been in the backfield every game, and he has said in the past couple of weeks that he's just been like half a step or one step short of making the sack. Against Kentucky, he wasn't. He was right there. Is that just a matter of things averaging out?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that number one is he plays with really good effort, and he's always around the ball, and he enjoys playing the game. And I think that if you continue to come, you continue to keep grinding, you continue to give that kind of effort, the things balance out. and you just got to keep fighting because it's hard to get sacks and do those kind of things. And, some of the teams that we played early on were a little more, protection conscious, or they were, screens and quicks, and it really wasn't like you could rush the passer, whereas in that game, it became more of a true drop back game. So a guy like Tez was able to use his ability, and he got some production. So the biggest thing is you just got to keep playing. And if you do that, the plays generally balance themselves out.
I noticed Errol Thompson, when he comes in, that guy doesn't miss too many tackles.
He's a good tackler, and he's physical in the box, He does a good job of understanding our compression tackles and working to be near leg, near shoulder, and tracking the hip. And I've been pleased with his tackling and the way he tackles, and certainly continue to have his role that he has. And I think he's another guy that has a bright future. He's a young player. Really, this is really his first year playing, and he's done a good job for us, and I think he feels comfortable in our system, kind of like Willie.
Last few games, there haven't been a lot of direct attacks at your cornerbacks. Is that more a function of what the defensive line's doing, or the style of teams you were playing, their offenses?
I think it's a combination of maybe the coverage. Could be a combination of matchups. Could be a combination of the front guys too. I think it's a little bit of all of that. So you just kind of mix it up. I don't think you can ever be one-dimensional and say this is all we're going to do, because when you do that, then it's really easy for the quarterbacks or the coordinator on offense to say this is where I want to target and this is what I'm going to get. So I just think you got to be balanced in what you're doing. And if you're balanced in what you're doing, you still got to make plays, but it's not definitely going to be this. So they have to go through a thought process too.